I think for me, when I landed in the world, I think there was a lot of explanation involved too, because I just didn't understand. And as a dad, when you run into these things, we fix things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we
We
do.
try
Dads
to.
fix things. And you get into a situation where your child has cancer and you can't fix it. So the support that's there just to keep your sanity throughout that part of the process, and watching your child go through things that no child should ever go through, no human should ever go through. Without organizations like Childcan that have been through it, that have seen it, that know the extra responsibilities that need to be helped with, would make it very impossible to get through.
They're also someone I think that gives you hope maybe when you don't have hope. Again, you've been dealt a blow that no one else in the world should have been dealt, and they come in and they're not only looking after your child, or the doctors have been looking after your child, and the nurses, but somebody looking after you. The family needs support. They really take a good tender care to your family.
Childcan is an immense support of families that are going through things they just do not understand and shouldn't be in the middle of.
Financially,
Yeah.
support groups, all kinds of things. Just somebody to talk to when you need it.
I first became aware of Childcan on June 13th, 2007. It was the day that my daughter was diagnosed with AML, with leukemia. And again, there's doctors and nurses racing around, and you're in a complete state of shock. And there's this friendly face that comes out of somewhere and says, look, I don't want you to worry about anything. I don't want you to worry about food. I don't want you to worry about parking. I don't want you to worry about any of that stuff. I want you to worry about your child and taking care of your child. So it was definitely a different face than the doctors and the nurses and all that, critical care team.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it gets you out for the Wednesday coffee hours. The support group meetings once a month. If you're in the hospital for how many months at a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can at least get out that once a month, sit with other families, other parents that are going through the same thing.
It almost eliminates that feeling of isolation, because you immediately feel isolated when you're handed that card. And to know that there's other people that understand, because it's not something people talk about in normal circles. It just
Right.
isn't. And I know some of the conversations the three of us have had.
Yeah.
You just don't talk the same way to people because they just don't understand. You get the nodding and you get the, oh, I'm so sorry, but they don't get it. And the three of us hope they never do, but they don't get it. We do. And so does Childcan. Before you're dealt that card, you would read something about it in the paper, and you see what the public wants to see. You see that child healthy, well, might look a little bit sick, might be a feeding tube, might be bald head, but they're at Disney World. They're seeing Mickey Mouse. That's what the public wants to know. They don't want to know the horrible, horrible things that our kids go through. They just don't want to know about it. And when we lose our children, they want to know about it even less, because that just can't be real. It skews your entire reality. I mean, none of us, I'm sure, leading up to it, ever thought that our inner circle would be touched by something like this. And it was, you read it in the paper and you go, oh, isn't that great? He's getting better. He's off seeing Mickey Mouse. And then you turn to the sports page, right? Mm-hmm. It never really connects. And that's what Childcan helps with too, is letting people know and give them the forum to discuss this so that people understand how important it is that we find a solution for our kids.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I always refer to as, people find out that I've lost a child, which is, unbelievable even when I hear those words, that I've lost a child. And, I would say it's not campfire talk.
No.
It's not something people want to hear, but it's something that is happening, and it's happening today. And without organizations like Childcan, families just wouldn't get the support they're getting. When we started on our journey, we were going to stay together as a family with our type of cancer that we had. We had to be in the hospital for 6 months at a time. Our daughter was lucky to get home for 12 days in that 6-month period. So we were there all the time, and we wanted to keep our family together and always have meals together and have weekends together and sleepovers, because the hospital becomes your home. And unfortunately, we went home, and when we relapsed and had to go to Toronto to get a bone marrow transplant, Childcan supported us immensely in helping us find accommodations in Toronto, because they knew how important it was for us to keep our family together during that journey in Toronto. We were going to be 3 months there, and we didn't want to worry about a mortgage at home. We wanted to worry about just being together as a family. And I can tell you, after losing my daughter, those days are cherished, and we would have lost all those days if we hadn't had that support.
Well, and Toronto's a very good point, too. It didn't stop in London. We were in the same situation when Jess was re-diagnosed, right? We ended up in Toronto. And, I mean, these kids and their comfort levels are so important. Jessie knew all the nurses. She knew all the support staff. She knew everybody here. I think that was one of the biggest kicks in round 2, was having to go to Toronto, and Childcan was still there. Just the parking pass, it is just such an immense weight off of you. It sounds simple to most people, but not having to worry about having that money to get in and out, not having to worry about what day it was. I mean, at one point I remember leaving sick kids and hand them the card or whatever, and the dollar amount shows up. And I don't know how long I'd been there. It's all a blur, but it came up somewhere in the area of $1,200 that turned to zero. And that was a very big picture of Childcan to me.
Absolutely.
The parking pass, yeah. Stephanie was in the past 8 years, I'd say at least 2.5 years of it, between different hospital stays, 3 times, brain tumor resections. The parking pass, like when Stephanie was diagnosed, my wife quit her job. So now we're down to 1 income.
Yeah.
Renee stayed with Stephanie every day at the hospital. Steph was never left alone. She had to eat. She ate at the cafeteria, but Childcan provided the cafeteria vouchers and whatnot. Tim Hortons cards, especially for my wife, were a godsend, right?
Absolutely.
In 2005, my daughter Stephanie was given 8 weeks to live, and we needed to go outside the country for what we feel saved her life. I didn't know how we were going to pay for that. Like I said, we were down to 1 income, and even myself, I had been off for months, and I know Childcan was there. They gave us, friends and family came together, raised the money we needed to get there, needed to get done, and one of those friends was Childcan. They did that for us as well, and who knows, man, what we would have had to do to get there, what we would have had to sell, kidneys, houses, cars, right?
Yeah.
But I was determined to do whatever it took, and we didn't have to do any of that.
And the monetary thing, I think, really hangs on dads, because it's our responsibility to take care of it. It really is.
Especially when we can't fix things.
Yes, we already can't fix it, and we've got to make sure that our family can get through. And without an organization like Childcan, it's just worrying about, can you imagine? Just the parking portion of it, or the Tim Hortons cards, like you say, right? We need to be able to solve whatever issue we're handed. And there is no other organization, as far as I've run into, that steps in and says, okay, cancer isn't just about the kids, although it is, but it's about the entire family. And they look at the entire picture and help out with the entire picture. I mean, really, when Jessie was re-diagnosed, I hadn't even paid off the first tumor yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there is a lot of extra dollars that are involved between this med and that med and the traveling and the other things that we were talking about, right? And it's not covered. You are digging as deep as you possibly can, day by day.
We as a family, we actually just had this discussion last week, my wife and I, where you look at someone, we're in our mid-40s, everybody's sort of turning into that time of their life where they're buying their dream house and all of that. We've been set back 10 years. We're now in a different financial situation. We've had great jobs. We both still have great jobs, but we've been set back an awful lot.
I've also found, too, there's a wealth of information there. If you need something outside of, say, the Childcan protocol or mandate, there's a lot of information you can get. They can tell you, where you need to go for that, or who you need to talk to, kind of thing, or contact for, depending on what it is you need. I've found that.
What a big difference between the doctors and the nurses. It's a lot different when you're done your treatment than you'd think. You actually get a piece of paper that says you can go home, come back once a month, and we'll see how things are going. Childcan continued right after. I mean, I can't think of the amount of times that they came to our house just to say, you know, how are you guys doing? How's the family? We haven't seen you in a while. It'd be really great to have a coffee with you and make sure you guys are great, doing okay, you know, as best as you can is a good word. But yeah, it was very humbling to actually see that happen, and you know, it helped us through a lot of times that we, you know, might have had a tougher time.
I was gonna say, past EDs from Childcan still in contact. Always ask how Stephanie is, you know. And it's been 8 years. They've been gone for quite some time, but they always stop to ask how Steph.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, their focus is the people. Absolutely.
It's nice to know someone else out there. You know, as much as you want to live a normal life, you really aren't living a normal life. I guess that's a way to put it, and it's a bit of it's nice to connect with people that you know, and through Childcan we've definitely got to meet each other.
I'll get to the point where I've just got to send somebody a frustrated 4-letter word at that point in my day, and I know I can send it to Dean, and I don't have to elaborate on it, I don't have to do anything, it's just, here you go, and I get back at, yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? And that's just not, and I've known people for years that, again, you don't get that look of recognition. So the community is a big one. It's a big one.
Cancer knows no boundaries. It could very easily be their child.
Yes.
It doesn't get any better than that, exactly.
And unfortunately, the numbers aren't going backwards.
Yes.
They're going forwards. It will touch you. And the more that you can help, the more that you can get the word out, the more that you can support Childcan, the better off everybody's going to be in the long run.
Gary, anything?
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. I mean, you know what? There would be, without their support, there would be families that would not be together today without it. I mean, for us, it definitely, I mean, my family stayed together as a group, and you know what? We became best friends after the worst thing that could have happened in our lives.
You know, that's a very, very good point, because the people that are heavily involved, the families really have stayed together. I've never really thought about that, but you know what? You're right. I have also watched a lot of families just implode throughout all this because they didn't know who had their back. And we all know Childcan has our backs.